covering the islands of the Bahamas. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight Weekend Edition. I'm LaDawn Davis. As always, it's great to have you joining us. Topping the news this evening, a hurricane watch is now in effect for the island of Andros, and tropical storm warnings remain in effect for the remaining islands of the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands. As Tropical Storm Isaac impacts the Bahamas, meteorologist Greg Thompson joins us live in the studio with the latest coordinates. Good evening, Greg.
Yeah, good evening, LaDawn, and good evening, everybody. Of course, you just mentioned the top of the top story, Tropical Storm Isaac, the warnings we have posted. Hurricane warnings remain in effect for Andros, and the tropical storm warnings still in effect for the remainder of the islands, including the Turks and Caicos Islands. Strong winds and heavy rainfall, possible tornadic activity associated with this system as it continues to push towards the northwest. We're taking a look at the latest coordinates. Position at 5 p.m., 21.3 degrees north, 76.0 degrees west. Winds up to 60 miles per hour, no real change there. Movement still towards the northwest, but it's picked up a little bit in speed, 21 miles per hour. Roughly 260 miles to the southeast of Nassau. We have some other distances for you. Ragged Island Chain, it's about 70 miles to the southwest. Andros, the southern tip, 190 miles to the south of that location. And we also have some other locations there. Inagua, 160 miles west of you. Matthewtown, southwest of the Grand Turks. And then we have the Meguana area, Abrams Bay, 250 miles towards the southwest of that area. Tropical Storm Isaac continues to push towards the northwest at 21 miles per hour. And we mentioned this earlier, and this motion is expected to continue over the next 48 hours. The National Hurricane Center actually has this system pushing towards the northwest over the next couple of days, hours actually, 24 hours thereabouts. Taking a look at the graphics, a little earlier graphic, but you can see the track there. Taking it just to the southwest of Andros sometime early tomorrow, and then making its way across the Florida Keys, and possibly actually forecasted to make hurricane strength. These tropical storm force winds extend out well over 200 miles, so the entire chain of islands, if you see there the yellow there on the map, almost the entire chain of islands in the tropical storm belt. Those winds will be gusting anywhere from 39 to up to 74 miles per hour. Mostly in some really strong rain bands as that system continues to push up towards the north. Satellite-wise, this is how that system's shaping up. Lots of showers and thunderstorms still across Hispaniola. The center just off the northeast coast of Cuba. Some convection trying to wrap itself around, and this system is now over water, so we're expecting some gradual strengthening over the next 12 to 24 hours. That's why the National Hurricane Center has this forecasted to become a hurricane by the time it gets to the Florida Keys. So we're asking residents to continue to monitor the progress of the storms, tropical storm force winds expected, and tropical storm conditions expected over the entire chain as the system pushes towards and parallels the western side of the Bahamas. LaDawn?
Thanks, Greg. Since Friday, the southeast Bahamas has been ready for any effects of this storm. Meteorologists say they should be experiencing tropical storm force winds. Julian, Gibson, and Lyndon Smith are down in Inagua and has the latest.
In Inagua, it is still blowing probably about 35 to 40 knots with gusts somewhere in the range of about 50 knots right here in Inagua. Now the electricity went out there about early this morning. 2 utility poles collapsed right here in Inagua. So certain people are using generators, but right now the island doesn't have no electricity, and because of no electricity, well, there's no water supply, because the water supply is attached to the electricity supply here in Inagua. But we had a chance to drive through the island. Basically everything is on calm, everything still is on lockdown. When you ride out by the waterfront, well, you really have appreciation for nature, and you see the waves, the caps, just splashing against the seashore. But it's been an outstanding day when you look at the calm. The people are still relaxed. They're just praying and hoping for persons like in Andros, where tropical storm Isaac might be heading. But Inagua pretty much has been on the safe side when you look at no loss of rooms, no big major houses are collapsing or anything like that. It's just 2 utility poles collapsed here in Machigan, Inagua. Now, the BC crew, they attempted to go out first thing this morning, but because the wind is still blowing 35 to 40, BC employees, they don't want to risk no injuries. So people in Inagua being patient with BC, hoping that they can ride the situation out, and probably later on, probably later this evening, that is, or first thing tomorrow morning, they can get electricity supply restored right here in Machigan, Inagua. But that's the situation here. It's been a constant rainfall, light rain, I must say, for the last 6 or 7 hours right here. Nothing major, because if you know the history of Inagua, rainfall is somewhat on the low side here. So the people here welcome this rainfall, because in the past weeks and past months, it's been pretty much dusty and pretty much dry in Inagua. But constant rainfall the last 5 or 6 hours has helped the people here in Inagua. No flooding, just a little bit of breeze, 35 to 40 miles an hour. In Machigan, Inagua, reporting for ZNS News, I am Julian Gibson.
Thanks, Julian. As mentioned earlier, a hurricane watch is now in effect for the island of Andros. A hurricane watch means that hurricane conditions are expected within the watch area within 48 hours. Keishla Adderley has been deployed there to provide hurricane coverage and has the details.
It is certainly no ordinary day in the South Andros district. The weather has deteriorated significantly. The skies are overcast. The winds are very strong. The seas are rough, and there are crashing waves this afternoon. Now, we drove through the settlement after arriving here just after 3 o'clock. There doesn't seem to be much operation in the way of battening down or securing homes, but I can tell you that the community is quite quiet. Everyone seems to be indoors, with the exception of a few curious onlookers out to watch the weather. Now, in the last hour or so, we sat in on a local council meeting. We heard from the leaders in the community as they prepare for this storm in every way. Now, one of the persons in on that meeting was the tourism representative who essentially advised everybody that there were only 2 tourists remaining in the South Andros district. Others opted to leave the island and go to New Providence, where they may have been a little bit more secure. So just 2 tourists left in South Andros this afternoon. We can also tell you that there was some minimal damage here already. We heard a report in that meeting of a downed tree and 2 downed utility poles, one in the Smithfield settlement and one in another settlement here in the south that escapes you at this point, but that BEC was dispatched to deal with that. But again, deteriorating weather conditions here in the South Andros district, the local council ensuring that everyone is safe. We also heard during that meeting, I should add, that one person has opted to go to a shelter, obviously because his home may not be the soundest, so he's going into a shelter that's been provided to ensure his safety when conditions are expected to deteriorate. But that's pretty much the way it is in South Andros this afternoon. Heavy, very strong winds, light rains at this point, very strong winds, obviously feeling effects here from Tropical Storm Isaac this afternoon. Reporting from South Andros, Keishla Adderley, ZNS News.
Well, Isaac's fury is impacting the local tourism economy. 2 Royal Caribbean cruise ships canceled the Bahamas as their port of call today and tomorrow due to the pending threat of Tropical Storm Isaac. The Majesty of the Seas and the Monarch were both scheduled to sail into port here in the capital today, but have diverted their routes. However, 3 Carnival Cruise Line ships and 1 Norwegian cruise line made scheduled stops today in Nassau. Presumably, they will not overnight as the tropical storm approaches. And when we come back, police intelligence expected to hit our public school campuses in a few weeks. The details of that story and a whole lot more coming up.